This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by LRN.FM. Feds don't want you to hear them. I'm standing here with Representative Gary Hopper, correct?
Yes.
Who just approached me and was asking if I had been doing any coverage of the Jerry DeLemus situation. And I'm wondering what's some of the information that is not making it into the press, in terms of the way this has gone down. I mean, was there any crazy stuff that the SWAT team did, or other than the raid itself, or was anything crazy you saw in court, or...
Well, pardon. Jerry's been on my show, Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades, a couple of times talking about it. And some of the things that aren't being reported, or may be, but with limited coverage, are the idea that Jerry was, sorry, I get problems with my eyes. Jerry was accused of having pointed guns at federal law enforcement. The fact of the matter is that incident where they, basically the federal government was killing the cows of the Bundy's cows. And that incident where they were at that confrontation that Jerry was accused of being part of happened 2 days before he got out there. So the actual incident of Jerry actually pointing guns at federal agents, to the best of my knowledge, actually never happened.
Some legs underneath him and help him along the way if they can.
Harry's story is that Harry Reid and his nephew, just like most of the people in Washington, D.C., they go there to line their pockets. Harry Reid, I think, went up there a millionaire, and now he's worth tens of millions of dollars just by deals like this, where his son-in-law sold some property. I believe it was to the Chinese, and they had to take the turtles that were actually protected on that property, move them over, and that was the Bundy's area where they used to graze their cattle. So the federal government moves in, and you can imagine the absurdity of the federal government coming in with law enforcement to shoot somebody's cows. I mean, the whole proposition is insane, and the fact that we have people who are brave enough, like Jerry, to go out there and join a bunch of, I guess, predominantly Marines to try to help this guy defend his way of life, his living, was pretty amazing. I believe personally that Jerry DeLemus was arrested functionally because more recently he went out to the refuge. That was what ended up in the news, and what really happened. With, a bunch of people, now this was in the neighboring state, went in and took over this refuge for similar problems with the Bureau of Land Management. And as a protest, they took over an unoccupied refuge building. And Jerry went out there because he could realize the optics of it playing out in the press is that these are radical right-wing nutcases. And he went out there as a friend of many of them and said, hey, look, you guys got to get out of here, because it's not that the way it's being played in the press is not what you're trying to get at. And so he went out there to try to broker a peace. He told the FBI before he left. He told them when he got there. He talked to the people at the refuge, then tried to negotiate something with the FBI. And he, at that time, when he came back on my show on February 17th, he explained that it was obvious that the FBI had no intention of trying to broker any kind of peace. They were out for revenge for what happened before. Okay? Now,
well, I've taken more than your 2 minutes, so I should probably try and talk to you when I can ask some more questions and tie you down for longer.
Okay, but just to finish up, so Lavoie was shot. Okay, they basically had a roadblock set up.
Yeah, I've seen the video.
And then you saw the video. And I think what the FBI is trying to do is convince people that they were out there for peace and they had no other option. But that's really not true. They were out there for revenge, and I think that's why they arrested Jerry, is just to discredit his testimony.
Okay. Well, I will have more questions for you later, Mr. Hopper, if I can find you. Okay, so yeah, with regard to the Jerry DeLemus situation, were you actually at any of the court hearings for him?
I was at the court hearing. What was it? It was the Monday before last...
So it wasn't the first one, but the second one.
The second. I was at the second hearing. And that was actually interesting because the defense attorney admitted in that hearing that although Jerry was somehow a threat to society and everything else, he actually never was at the actual incident. So the federal government and the guys out west actually had the standoff.
Was this the public defender?
No. Oh, no, I'm talking about the prosecutor.
Oh, she said the prosecutor said that he...
The prosecutor even admitted that Jerry wasn't there during that. Then he tried to make the case that Jerry was a threat to society, even though if he was such a great threat to society, why did the federal government wait 2 years to actually start prosecutions?
Well, now how...
That's a joke.
How were the attendees, the crowd that came to support Jerry, how were they treated by the feds?
Fine.
Okay.
Everybody went into court. I don't even think I think I offered to show ID, but they didn't care.
Really? So they let people in without ID?
I presume so. They didn't. Well, I also had my state legislator badge, so maybe that was irrelevant. I don't know.
Do you know if Susan was home when the raid occurred?
Yeah, I believe she was. I had Jack Kimball came on my show with John Heichel and Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades, and they actually did a show last Wednesday. And Jack, I listened to that because I was here voting against stuff. And Jack said, yeah, he got that call, a frantic call from Sue that morning when the feds showed up. So
were they allowed to call while they were still there, or did she have to call after it was all over? Do you know?
I presume she called after it was all over, but I really don't know. Do
you know if either of the DeLemus has got any video of the raid?
Don't know.
Or audio?
No idea. I know that Jerry, when he was on my show on February 17th, expected to be arrested the next morning, or possibly, because he had a meeting at Dunkin' Donuts scheduled with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and when he went there, he had other people all set up to make sure everything was videotaped. And that's apparently what the federal government really would, because the federal government said, well, we would have showed up, but we were afraid for our safety. Well, you know, give me a break.
They live in constant fear.
Yeah, sure they do. So that was
you
all
would too if you did what they do. But do you have any sense of whether it was a no-knock raid? Did they bust the door? Did they just knock politely, or?
I don't. I get the impression they showed up with, fully loaded, loaded for bear. So I don't know if they busted in the door or knocked. I have no idea.
Okay. All right. Any sense of how he's being treated at this? I guess it's Stratford.
I presume okay. I don't know. But he seemed like he was doing well when he showed up for court last Monday, so he seemed healthy and everything, so I'm sure he's being treated well.
Is there any infrastructure set up for easily getting mail to him, or?
I would contact Sue DeLemus. Her phone number and address is on the state website because she's a state legislator, so all that information is available. I know she needs money to help. She hired a lawyer to start taking his case and try to keep him from being extradited back west, and so it's going to get pretty expensive. And Jerry was her sole source of income. And for people that don't know, I believe it's Sue's mother or Jerry's mother is actually got a lot of medical condition and is living with them, so it's a huge amount of stress on the family.
To what extent does this make you question New Hampshire's being in the Union?
That hasn't crossed my mind until you said it. It doesn't have, I still think we're part of the Union for a reason.
If I don't ask, no one will. Sorry.
No, I just would be so afraid of Canada invading once we were on our own.
Oh, those Quebecois, they're always threatening to cross the border.
Those folks from Montreal will attack in a heartbeat. But no, I don't think that's, I haven't given that any consideration.
All right, well, maybe you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have any video or stills of any of the stuff that's been going on in relation to the situation?
All I have is on, like I said, Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I posted it on my Facebook. It's a list of all the shows that Jerry was on. Jerry was on in 2014, soon after he got back from his original visit. He was on Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades February 17th. You can Google that. It's on YouTube. and he was also this past Wednesday with Jerry wasn't on, obviously, because he's in jail, but that was with Jack Kimball, who has been tightly involved in this whole thing,
now,
talking to John, Representative Heichel, or former Representative John Heichel.
What do you think is the most useful thing the average person in New Hampshire could do to put pressure on authorities to get him free?
First, get informed. Watch some of the videos of the Lavoie shooting. Watch the video. Judge Janine actually did a really cool thing that gave I posted it out on my Facebook, a really awesome video of the background information. Why did this all start? Because I think if people aren't informed as to what's really going on, they're not going to have any empathy for Jerry and the stuff Sue and he and his family are going through. So get informed first. Once you're informed, start writing to Senator Ayotte and Shaheen and try to get people involved.
I'm skeptical.
Oh, I am too. I am too. But I think it's an election year, so they might be a little bit more receptive than ordinarily.
Why haven't there been? To my knowledge, there was only been one demonstration in his support, which was some flag wavers outside the court at one of the hearings. But why have there been no just demonstrations in general at any of these federal buildings in New Hampshire in relation to this?
I presume it's because in the case of Jerry DeLemus, they've done a pretty effective job, I think, of vilifying him, like the federal government does every time they want to attack somebody. They make them out to be, horrible people. I mean, we don't go to every time we go to war, we got to accuse the person we're going to war of having sex with camels or whatever it is. They come up with some story why this person is the worst villain in history before they attack them, and I think they've successfully done that with Jerry. They have made him look like a nutcase, when if you actually listen to his testimony on my show back in on 2014 and more currently back in February, you find that he's completely reasonable, and he's just fighting for what he believes is the liberty of these people out west. Okay,
Gary Hopper, state rep from...
Where?
Okay.
Where?
All right. Nowhere? Somewhere?
Somewhere.
All right.
I'm from Southwhere. That's not nowhere.
Okay, all right. Thanks so much, Gary.
Yeah, take care.
No, can't do that.
Federal agents on the streets of Keene, New Hampshire. They're investigating reports of an unlicensed radio station said to be broadcasting LRN.FM. So why all the fuss? What is LRN.FM? Well, it's probably not something these agents want you to listen to. It's a 24-hour news talk broadcast, all pro-liberty. A true authoritarian-free zone. Tune in at LRN.FM to listen or broadcast their signal. LRN.FM. Feds don't want you to hear them.